If you're an engineer or even a musician, this last video made a lot of sense. However, if you're a producer, there is a little bit of discrepancy there, and something that came up from that video was the fact that as a producer, a lot of times, people are hiring you for your sound and for your expertise, and they're looking to you to really help them put things together. And it can be frustrating at times when you deal with clients that want to circumvent that, and they want to perhaps bring in their own mixing engineer or bring in their own musicians, which may or may not be good or to your standard. And in that case, as a producer, absolutely, you do have to consider your name and your work, because if a record says that you produced the record, then your name is heavily invested in that. Whereas on the engineering side, it's not as much attached to that. Of course, yes, engineers can have sound, we can have a way we like to work and things like that, but we're not necessarily known per se for our particular sound. Whereas a producer, you think about Pharrell, Timberland, B. Cox, Jermaine Dupri, they all have unique sounds that we immediately attribute to them. Whereas when you think about those same people and you think about the mixes, there's a ton of mixing engineers that have crossed paths with all of those people. And if you just listen to a record, it's going to be very hard for you to really pinpoint which engineer actually mixed any of those records. So from a producer's aspect, absolutely, you do have to think about your name. And again, the point I brought up about the onboarding process and how you communicate with clients when you bring them in, that's going to be extremely important, because you need to have a list of questions and things that you go through to determine the fit for you with a particular client. If somebody's coming in to get you to produce a record, there needs to be the understanding of how you work, what is collaboration, like all those types of things you need to talk about and make sure they understand how you work, you understand how they like to work, and y'all collectively come together and figure out how y'all are going to work. And in some cases, y'all might not be a good fit, and that's perfectly fine. But again, kind of on you as a producer, you do need to take those steps at the forefront of a relationship with the client to really figure out how they like to work and if you're going to work well together. Because otherwise, you can get into some situations to where your name is going to get tarnished, or you're just going to have to completely walk away from a project in order to save your name. But then that brings on a whole nother can of worms that we're not going to get into here. So yeah, great response for those of you that brought that up. I was speaking more from an engineering aspect and somebody that's maybe considered a more of a work for hire than a producer or even a writer that's actually really involved and included in that record from start to finish. So I hope that helps, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.